good.
Good.
Really
Welcome.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ashley Koff.
Yes.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, purpose.
I experience you as someone who's on purpose and lots of energy, like a ball of energy, which radiates.
Thank you.
Where does that come from?
Yeah. Well, earlier on, it might have come from anxiety and caffeine, but I think at decade on decade, we get a little bit more clear, in terms of our purpose. Early in my life, it came from a really dysfunctional digestive system, and later in my life, it came from learning to heal that digestive system, and the angst that I went through, and I come from a medical household, and so then being told that medicine should fix you, and then medicine not fixing you, and at times thinking that my issue was, I had this belly, so then I became this fat kid, and it was like, okay, so if I could just diet and I could lose the belly, and when you try all those things and you fail, you're like in this weird place of, I'm not a failure. Like I've never owned as myself a failure, but I felt being a failure.
Sure.
So I think the purpose comes from, we have this world of people that I definitively believe everyone who's here is here for a specific purpose in this moment, and we desperately need them.
Yep.
And when their digestive systems don't work optimally, they can't achieve their purpose. I know that because that was my problem, and now I'm like, okay, let me fix yours, because you might be the person to cure cancer. You might be the person to figure out, I won't even venture into politics, but figure out something else that we need, or whatever. And if your digestive system works better, and as a result, you're able to be metabolically healthy, optimally healthy, you're going to be able to live out your life purpose.
So it's really about helping people optimize their health so that they can be the best they can be.
Yeah. I like to say better, but
better,
they're better. But if it's only,
I was going to go there.
There you go.
Better, not perfect.
That's
I
right.
didn't say that perfect self. Yeah. So tell me where that came from.
Well, my perfect self was when I was younger and I was disconnected from this. I wanted to be tall, thin, super funny, and accomplished. Judith Light, who played Angela Bauer on Who's the Boss. When the show Who's the Boss came out, I was like, Ashley's the boss. Like, I love this. I want to be the boss, right? I want hunky Tony Danza at home. Like, even when she was fighting with her mom, she was perfect. Like, she was funny. She wasn't too rude, whatever. And so I thought that's who I...
She had a team of writers, too.
That's right. And I was like leading my life. Years later, I met Judith, and I was leading my life to become you. And it took really healing my digestive system and harnessing my power to be like, curly hair, like you're this person, right? And I realized that I had been in this pursuit of perfect that was making me perfectly unhappy and perfectly sick or keeping me sick. And when we understand how the body works, there is literally no moment that the body operates perfectly, not even the second that we're born or after we die. Like it is not in our DNA.
That's great.
So in that way, like we don't function perfectly, but we do function better. And so for me, it's been this dance of both my personal experience and then also understanding how the body works.
For you, Ashley, was it just society? Because society lines up to try to make it all perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like advertising, or was there more to it? Like for you, underneath the perfect thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What we know today about genetics is we know we're about 30% are genetics, right? And then, we have these epigenetics, these choices that we make, and we can actually change our DNA based on how our genetics expressed based on our choices. So I'm not sure. I'm definitely wired a certain way, and that way was to... Like I'm but why, like super curious and want to figure it out.
I love the 6-year-old in you.
Yeah, totally. And I wanted to be perfect. I think like in a sad way, like when I, in touch with that younger Ashley, I think I really wanted people to like me or to love me, right? So I think there's that part of, and that's not a comment on like actually not being loved. I might just have not experienced that or my own experience. So I think that maybe it's a little bit of both. I think that there is certainly societal definitions of this is what perfect looks like. Even when I'm very smart. I did very well, except for on my SATs, I didn't do well. But on the rest of things, I did really well on in school and things like that. But it was like you were still pushed to be smarter. Like you could be smarter, or you could be prettier, or you could be, have more money and that kind of thing. So I think it's probably a little bit of both.
That's awesome. When you meet people and you're having an impact, I make up that's energizing.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you saying? What's the message? I know the better, not perfect, but then when you're really either one-on-one or in front of an audience of thousands, like you've talked to before, what's giving you the energy? Like, what's the drive underneath that?
Yeah. Well, I think when we laugh and cry together, it's like that kind of thing. Like sometimes I'll tell my story, which a culmination of my story was I was trying all these things to, I thought I was trying to lose the belly, but then I also was really not well and I was trying to get myself better. My rock bottom was a 7-day goat's milk only cleanse, to try, somebody was like, you have a worm. I'm like, let's kill the worm, do this. It was just nuts, right?
Right.
And I know everybody has had those like crazy moments. They've been really sad. They've been really scary. So when we can connect on that human level, there's an energy exchange that's like that they feel like there's a moment where they feel like they can do this. And it's never like I have the answer for you, but it's definitely that moment of they feel that they can do this. So sometimes that's a laugh, sometimes that's a cry. And it's
an emotional connection.
Yeah, it's definitely an emotional connection, I mean, let me be clear. I love when somebody laughs at my jokes, but I think more often than not, sometimes they're laughing at me in that moment because I'm laughing at me, and I'm making it okay for us to laugh at ourselves, to be like, even when we laugh, we relax our vagus nerve. So it's like good for our bodies, so I think that's that connection. Yeah.
Love it. So before we talk about Better Nutrition Program, if you were to articulate your purpose, have you done? Yeah. Well,
yes. Well, I've done that work with you, and I should be better at it.
No. But when you think about, when you think about, I'm on this planet too, or I exist too, just what comes to mind?
I really do think that I'm to connect with individuals, to empower them, to help them identify the choices, the system, the plan that helps them heal. Now, remember, we're in a journey. Our bodies are dynamic. So I'm never going to, if I heal you in a moment, I haven't accomplished. But if I give you the tools and the resources and help you become the person who can keep healing yourself, you are able to live out your life purpose, and I think I really do feel like people have that moment where they're like, I remember before you and I remember after you. And that's not like putting me in some godlike status. It's really about this. Even if I had things that I knew worked for me, I didn't necessarily feel like I was driving my own ship, on that part. So I would say that's my purpose.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so your purpose is beautifully personified in Better Nutrition Program.
Yeah.
So when you're running the business and flowing with the business, how does purpose show up in the business with the business?
So the Better Nutrition Program was not an intention. It was like an oopsie baby, right? Like I had all these other things I was, on that part, and you come along and I was like, wow, here I am in DC, kind of a little bit feeling like we failed or failure, like we weren't able to move the needle enough, for what we need in American healthcare. And I was like, okay, and I'm out, but what I need to do is help practitioners. I need to help individuals. Like, this is what I'm really good at. How do I do that? So is it tools? And then I realized some of it is tools and some of it is actually for people to actually connect with somebody who can have, this moment. I would say when, I'm in that moment running the business, I either experience, as you've taught me, like above the line or below the line, on that part. And when I'm in my purpose there, which is very much seeing patients, helping my team support individuals in the way, and see something I call the myth of the non-compliant patient. So doctors tend to have, I'm picking on doctors right now, but we could say any practitioner, they tend to believe fitness trainers, if somebody isn't getting the results, there's often this idea that you're a non-compliant patient. And for a long time, I was considered a non-compliant patient. Obviously, you just don't diet enough. Like, what food are you sneaking, whatever. So no, you haven't actually helped me figure it out and fixed it. Well, in healthcare, sometimes the myth of a non-compliant patient actually comes out in our experience with the business of the healthcare, not actually with our experience of the practitioner. You can have an amazing practitioner, but if you can't get in to see them, or if you leave and you forgot to tell them something that's really important and now you can't get that information to them, or these kinds of things. So with my team being, when one of the other spaces that you can see, like I light up on this, is coming in and saying, let's fix all of those places, or let's try to present a fix for those places where non-compliance pops up, where it's harder for somebody than it should be, right? Where they might feel disempowered, and when we're fixing that, I come alive. The opposite of that is I'm trying to learn, but when it's either finances or project, or different things that maybe it's even carrying something through. And I think that I need to play all the roles in there. And I think that it's been really important for me to realize that not only may suppress my purpose and my, kill my passion, but it's not letting somebody else have their purpose shine.
Sure.
So that's been some of the work.
I was going to ask that next. What brings your energy down, right? So, the kind of the operational financial piece.
Yeah.
It's we talk sometimes, Dan Sullivan talked about visionary integrator.
Yeah.
Clearly you're a visionary, right? So, and out front and inspiring.
Yeah. But if you start a company, you can't not be an integrator.
Yep, especially as a startup. Until you can afford that who, that who, not how, right?
Yeah.
And building a company, as I'm learning now, my first company that I'm kind of building fully, there's ups and downs. And there's stuff you do have to do that drags energy down. How do you reconnect, or how do you make sure you're bringing the right energy at the right time? We talked about this a lot. As the leader goes, so goes the business.
Right.
So showing up to make sure you're leading from a place of purpose and energy. Is there anything that comes to mind for you on how to do that? Or
and you guys have been really helpful. I think that the coaching side of it, for your personal, for who you are as a person and your leadership, there are things, and by the way, this is exactly what I do from a healthcare standpoint with my patients, but there are certain things that are going to set you up for your daily success, right? And they're not going to happen, better not perfect. They're not going to happen every day, right? So I got on a plane at 4:00 in this morning, so my morning has not happened the same way. But there are momentary interventions. Like when I came and saw you, or even before, I was like, I need to breathe for a moment. Like, I don't want to come in hot. Or I was at a booth and somebody's offering me their coffee, and I was like, I cannot have caffeine right now. Like, that's like, this is already laddered up, right? So when you figure out those pieces and you know yourself and you know how you operate, so I would actually offer your own healthcare is a really important part. That's that healthcare, that's the self-care. For venture capitalists, I often will meet their team members and when they're thinking about investing, just to see, do you have a plan in place for your healthcare? I'm not like judging their health in the moment, but if somebody's going to burn out, like, it doesn't care if you started off with the greatest team if they're not going to have it. So I think that's really important. I think the second part is to recognize, especially when you've got those phases, that we talk about, with what phase you're in. And sometimes there's just, the best thing you can do is be reactive. Well, if I'm in a reactive moment, how do I have my team not perceive it as, well, Ashley's always just reacting, or everything's urgent with Ashley, right? And one of the things that you guys helped me figure out with my team was that they perceived that I thought something was urgent. I wanted to, A, get it off my plate, but B, when I have a really good workout, I will, in the car on the ride home, just like fire off a bunch of things. And I'm so excited and happy that they thought it was urgent. So I now, like, at the start of my messages, I'm like, I'm either caffeinated, I just had a workout, or like, hey, this is a B priority, or this is a C priority, so that they understand. So when you're in that, whether you're working with 2 people or whether you're working with, 100 people, I think you have to start to create an ecosystem that really will, like, understands how everybody is responding in the ecosystem. I'm exact opposite of you. I have been a solo practitioner, a solo individual. I've gone where I want to go. I've run it how I want to do. So when I came into a company, I was like, uh-oh, like, they're all actually like, they're like, hey, like, Ashley, could you, and I'm like, uh-oh, like, I don't want, so it's learning it, from a different way.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Do you have any advice for other founders who are really passionate and kind of how to harness it and how to bring it to the business? Because I experience your purpose as your business's purpose, or like one and the same. In my case, my purpose is a little different than my business purpose, especially with Garden of Life and others that I worked with other founders. But what advice do you have for those passionate leaders who have a purpose and they want to build a business, or they are in the middle of it?
So I'd say 3 things. You have to take care of your own health. Like, that's just foundational. As I said, like, that is why I exist, because you literally can't get to fulfill your purpose.
As the leader goes, so goes the business. If the leader is sick, the business will be sick. Yep,
that's right.
Agreed.
And sometimes too, I've also met individuals that are so, their healthcare plan doesn't work for a business of others. Like, if I was just like, hey guys, I can never meet on Mondays because from 8 to 10 I exercise, that's one thing. If I was like, I'm never available in the mornings because I need to have 4 hours to myself, or, whatever, like, at a certain point, the rubber has to meet the road and you have to be able to fix it, or, so I think having a malleable plan for yourself and, and looking at that throughout your life stages. So that definitely feels like one. I would say the second one is, permission to fail, like, and not see failure as advantageous. I have done so many different things, and that's a part of my nature of, like, I like to start things up. But what's been really interesting is at different moments in time, those things have come back and they've been like, oh, that's exactly why I was supposed to do that. Or I know that for this reason. Oh, it didn't make me $1 million here, but it might make me $5 million, over here. And then I think there's one, which is, I'm not sure I have a pithy way to articulate it, but it might be like dance with the enemy. Like, if I had to think about that, there are people and types that really rub me the wrong way, and I really try to avoid them. And when you have your own company, or when you're a founder and you've got a passion on that part, there's one side of it, which is protect the energy of your ecosystem. Absolutely. So I don't do well with the victim mentality. It doesn't align with me, and it breeds passive aggressive and below the line working, right? So that's really good if we can't resolve that and to move that away. There are other people that are certain types that might be somebody who takes and wants to listen to me for an hour and then wants 3 days to digest it. And I find that super irritating. Why can't you give me feedback right now? And why can't, and then it's like, okay, we are so much better because you took 3 days, like on that part, or thank you so much for telling me that this would be better. And I learned from them. So something that may feel like it's totally a different, and I go back to, I don't know about for you, but in college, I was at Duke and it was liberal arts. And I remember being like, I just avoided science drive. Like I wanted nothing to do with science, whatever. And I thought I was like those people, like the way they study, the way their minds work, whatever. But I actually have this crazy science mind. And by not putting myself around those people, I wasn't cultivating something, in me. And so I do think that it's, So enemy or fear, like that's harsh on that part, but I think just be like, there are going to be things that challenge you, and those challenges are good, in that way.
Ryan Holiday says the obstacle is the way. So it's kind of pushing in, stretching, learning. I love it.
Yeah.
Any last bits of advice on that?
Gosh, I don't know. Find the people you can hang with. This is, on that part. Build your tribe. And I think that's, this can either feel super lonely or it can feel like the best thing that you're ever doing. And maybe sometimes the loneliness, like find that time for yourself, I think is the other piece, because sometimes that can start to feel elusive.
Perfect. You're so inspiring.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good.